This is the most frustrating part about pregnancy. Literally feels like someone is tying a corset. I thought I'm queen, I can manage pain, no problem. But this was another beast. One hand I was holding the gas mask, one hand I was holding Akash's hand and like squeezing it. I feel like a failure, like why am I not able to feed my baby properly? Hello and welcome. Hi, I'm Satshya. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today's video is so different from what you usually see on my page. But this is a video I wanted to make because among my friends group, I'm the first to give birth, and all of them had this same question about, bro, what was birth like? What was the experience? What was labor like? And I know that a lot of my audience is younger, and all of you also have the same question, or maybe you're my age or you're older, and you also want to know what it was like. And I usually never watch these videos on YouTube, even though I was very curious, because I'm a weakling, okay? I'm a coward when it comes to things about blood and surgery and gore. I have realized that maybe for someone who's gone through it, they're like so desensitized to the process that, you know, they... That's my dog. They will tell you all the gory details, like I was cut from here to here, I bled this much, this came out of me, that came out of me, and I could not handle it. Okay, so I never watched any of those videos. I was like, okay, let me experience it as it comes. And whatever questions I had to my gynecologist about how I should prepare, is there anything I should know, etc., I just asked her. I knew the basic things. I knew things like, okay, you're probably going to poop while you're going into labor. That I knew. I was like, okay, so at least things like that where something's happening to your body and which could be embarrassing potentially, but to know that it's normal, those things I was okay knowing. But the rest of it, like all the gory stuff, I was like, I don't want to know. So I will share my birth experience of what it was like with zero details, okay? Because if you want gory details, there are a lot of people who share those experiences. People have shot their birth videos if you want to watch it, if that's your thing. But if not, then you've come to the right place. So let's get into it. Hello! Easy. The first thing is about the due date. So everyone has a due date. For example, if your due date is say April 15th, right? It's not necessary that your baby will be born on April 15th. They could be born a week earlier or a week later or 2 weeks earlier, or like one of my friends gave birth a month earlier. And there's no way to predict this, okay? This is the most frustrating part about pregnancy. It's so different from person to person that you cannot predict anything. Even if you ask your doctor, like, oh, hey doctor, what do you think are the chances that I could give birth, say, at this time? And they'll be like, we don't know. It could happen anytime. And it's so like so much stress because you don't know when it's going to happen. So you just mentally prepare yourself for it to happen at any time. So for me, what happened was I started getting contraction pain. So when people say contractions, basically it's like getting a period pain. You know, period cramps that you get, it's like a tightening of your uterus, and then it goes. In pregnancy, there's something called Braxton Hicks, which is like false labor, which is you're not actually going into labor, but you still feel the contractions. Day one, I started feeling a bit of cramping. I was confused whether, you know, is it actual labor, is it not? So I got an app, and this was very helpful. If you're pregnant or you know someone who's pregnant, this app it's called Contraction Timer. This helps you time your contractions. Not only does it measure the duration of each contraction, it also measures the time between it. And once you start seeing a definite pattern, then you know, like, okay, I am going into labor. So in my case, on day one, it was very sporadic. It felt like period pain, which I had not had periods for 9 months. So I was like, oh, why am I feeling this again? I was so happy for 9 months without this pain. The second day in the morning, I met the doctor and she checked me out and she said, yeah, this is normal. So I said, okay, I'm already feeling contractions. You know, like how fast could it happen? So she said it could happen even today, it could happen in a week, it could happen in 2 weeks. And I was like, bro, why is there no like definite science to it? But that's the beauty, I guess, of pregnancy and human bodies, is everybody is different, everyone's experience is different. So I came back home and then it was progressively getting more and more painful. And so they gave me a helpline and they said, if you feel contractions, you call this helpline and just describe what it is, and they'll let you know whether you need to come into the hospital. So in the afternoon, I called them and I said, okay, these are my contractions. This is how far they're apart. This is the pattern, etc. So they said, okay, right now it doesn't seem like actual labor. So just hold on. But if the pain gets too much, then you can come in. We can give you painkillers. So I was like, cool. Then in the evening around 5 p.m. it started getting really painful. Like I would walk and I would feel like the contraction, and it would last for 50 seconds, that intense period pain, like it literally feels like someone is tying a corset or squeezing your stomach for 50 seconds and you're like, whoo. And I learned this breathing technique in one of the YouTube videos Akash and I were watching, and this was so helpful. Breathing techniques, it seems so simple but so helpful during birth. I'll breathe in and I'll show you. So breathe in 4 counts, breathe out 3 counts. It sounds so simple, but trust me, when you're concentrating on something else, the pain is much more bearable, because otherwise it was hurting me so much. And me, happily, okay, I was like, I have a high pain tolerance, because when I get injections, it doesn't hurt me. I get ear pierced, I don't have a problem. Any pain, I'm like, I can manage. Even my period pain is very manageable for me. I've never had to take pain medication. So I thought I'm queen. I can manage pain, no problem. But this was another beast. I would describe it as a period cramp, but into 100 and sometimes into 500. So I was walking around the house and then maybe I would sit and again I would feel it, and then I had to breathe through it and then stop. Again, after 2 minutes, it's happening again. So Akash said, you know what, just call them. But I was like, no, must be false, must be false. He was like, just call them, just call them. So I called them again and I described it to them and they said, it still doesn't sound like proper labor, but if your pain is so unbearable, you just come, we'll give you a painkiller. And I don't know why, okay, I didn't want to admit that I need a painkiller, because also in Singapore, every time you go to the hospital, it is quite expensive. So I didn't want to spend like $100 to go all the way, pay for cab, pay for the medicine, pay the cab again, come back, I was like, it's not necessary, it's okay, I'll just manage. But Akash, looking at my face, he was like, bro, you're in a lot of pain. Okay, he didn't say bro, I'm describing it, but he's like, you're in a lot of pain, let's just go. Okay, I just took my bag with my IC card, my wallet, my phone. We went to the hospital and they immediately, so in Singapore it was really nice, okay? So as soon as I went to the emergency section, they immediately took down my details. They made Akash stay there and they're like, you fill in all the formalities, we'll take her. So they put me in a wheelchair and they wheeled me directly to the ward, and they put me on a bed, and then within like 5-10 minutes a doctor came to check up on me and she examined me. So in pregnancy there's something called cervix dilation. Oh, my little one is going to wake up. Okay, I'll quickly tell the story. Your cervix has to dilate 10 centimeters for them to be able to begin the pushing out of the baby. So my cervix had dilated about 2 centimeters by then. So they said, okay, it looks like you're getting into labor. So either you can go home and come back the next day, or you could just stay overnight. And so we thought, okay, let's just stay. They were like, you can go home if you want, but it was already 10 p.m. at night, and they were like, you know what, just stay. So I said, okay, can you please give me some medicine for the pain? So they gave me, I forgot the name of the medicine, but it was injected into my thigh. So for some time it gave me pain relief. I would say for about 1.5 hours it gave me relief. And then in that time, Akash went home to get our hospital bag. So hospital bag is basically things that we had already packed and kept, like clothes for me, toiletries, clothes for Akash to stay over at the hospital, few baby clothes, etc. And so he went home, brought all of those things, a laptop, a Kindle, everything. We didn't know how long it's going to take, so got all of that. And by the time he came back, the injection pain started wearing off. And then they said, we'll just move you to the birthing room. We'll just move you to they moved me to the birthing room. So in Singapore, there's no concept of you'll be in a room, then you're taken to the operation theater, then you're brought back to the room. There is a room you give where you rest until you're ready to push. You give birth in that room only. And then later they'll move you to another room for recovery for afterbirth. So they moved me to that room. It was a very comfortable room. There's a big cozy chair for Akash to rest in. Again, the contractions were getting more and more painful. So it was, I think, every minute I just got 1 minute of relief in between where I could rest, and again it would come and squeeze me, you know. So even pain relief medication, my doctor had spoken to me about it. She had taken me through all of it and said, you know, it's up to you to choose what kind of pain relief you want. And again, at that time I was like, you know, I really want to experience what birth is like. I don't want epidural. I will just manage with the gas if necessary, because I thought I was some hero with high pain tolerance. But in that moment, it was hurting me so much. I was like, give me the gas, give me the gas. So it's nitrous oxide, where it's like a gas mask that you put on your mouth, and you have to inhale like this and breathe it in as soon as you start your contraction, and then keep breathing in and out, breathing in and out inside that mask. And then once your contraction is over, you can take it off. The thing with that gas, nitrous oxide, which they call laughing gas, is that you have to take it at the right time. If you take it even 1 or 2 seconds later after your pain has begun, then that pain rides in through even though you're breathing in and out. So it takes like 2 or 3 seconds to kick in. So you have to time it properly, and you have to constantly keep holding it while you're going through that pain. So with one hand I was holding the gas mask, with one hand I was holding Akash's hand and like squeezing it because I was just hurting me so much. It got to a point where I was like, I need an epidural. I don't think I can hold on to this and do this the entire time. And I know that when it comes to actual delivery, I don't want to be moving around so much. I just want the epidural. And this is very different from what I initially thought. So initially I was like, no, I don't need an epidural. You know, I want to feel everything. There are certain risks to it that your doctor will tell you, but for me personally, the benefits far outweighed any minute risks that were there. So in between even the gas thingy, the anesthesiologist came and they poke it through your spine. So I had to sit very still. But the pain was so much that I was shaking. He had like 30 seconds or like 20 seconds of time within which to do the procedure, because every time the contraction would hit me and my body would shake. So then he gave me the epidural. It took about a minute, 2 minutes to go through. And then life was so good. Oh my goodness. Like the whole bottom part of your body becomes numb, and you don't feel that pain anymore. And it is the best feeling. What a relief. I was able to at least rest for some time. So say I got the epidural at like 2 a.m. From 2 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. is when I started actively pushing, etc. So that 2.5 hours I could actually rest without crying, without that counting, without holding Akash's hand, you know. That relief. And that moment I was like, who invented epidural? I want to give them an award. Like I want to hug them. I want to I don't know, name my child after them. I was so relieved, so happy, and it made a huge difference to me. So I am team epidural all the way. But yeah, it again, it depends on you and your personal preference and your choices. But I am, as you can see, I love epidural. Around 5:30 they told me, okay, now it's about time, you are dilated enough, and you can start pushing a bit. So with the epidural you don't feel the contraction, but they strap like a belt around your stomach. So they can see on the monitor when the contraction is coming, and so they tell you, when they'll see the monitor and they'll be like, okay, push now. The way they tell you to push is push as if you want to poop. And then they said, okay, the baby has actually dropped quite low, which is a good sign. She's in the right position, great sign. We'll call the doctor in to come now. It was around 5:30 in the morning, 5:45 a.m. My poor gynecologist came all the way, and then she was like, okay, we're ready, let's go. And they just again the same thing. They were like, okay, now push. And then I would push, and that kept going on. And because everything was numb, I didn't feel any pain. So that part of labor, of active pushing the baby, was not like in the movies where like crying and sweating. It was just like, okay now, okay push, okay now, okay push. So I was able to, I guess, enjoy that process. It wasn't, I mean, I honestly cannot imagine pushing through that kind of contraction pain that I was experiencing. That pain plus actively feeling the baby come out. Like, call me a weakling, call me a pukela, I don't know how to translate, is like coward, I don't care, call me anything, but No, I would not recommend that kind of experience. After that, I just pushed for 10 minutes and little Miss Tara came out, and it was a wonderful, like, I mean, even thinking about that moment is so nice. This hospital that I was in strongly encourages skin to skin contact, and that they encourage breastfeeding, etc. Held her on me, and it was just me, Akash, and her in the room, and it was just, I don't know, it's just one of those moments where it's forever imprinted in your brain of, wow, this is a new chapter in our lives. We cannot believe that she's finally here, and we're parents, and oh my goodness, you're a mom, oh, you're a dad, and it feels great. After that, I was moved to my other room, and that's a place where Akash also had like a big sofa bed where he could stay overnight, and I put a reel of all the food that I got to eat. Shout out, I gave birth at National University Hospital in Singapore, which is like a public hospital. And the service, the care, the professionalism, so good. I had such a great birth experience. Labor itself was so good. My gynecologist was excellent. When I was moved into the room, the nurses, I could press a bell to call them for anything, and I called them so many times because, new baby, you're panicking like, oh, she's hiccuping, or oh, she's making this noise, like what do we do? So when we came in, the nurses in the beginning did everything: diaper changing, burping. They taught me how to breastfeed, which I think was one of the greatest blessings ever, because all the nurses at that hospital are trained on how breastfeeding techniques, what to do. And one misconception that I had earlier is, when you give birth, okay, it's like such a natural thing, right? Everybody, oh, birth, you just put the baby and the baby starts breastfeeding. But no, like, breastfeeding is one of the most challenging things ever, because first, you don't know how to hold this little baby. You have to be so delicate, and she's moving around, and you're so afraid to hurt her, and you don't know how to hold her the right way. And second, it's a brand new experience, right? Breastfeeding, how to angle, how to hold the different positions. So in the beginning, I would just be like, y'all only put her, I'll just manage. Then one day, senior nurse, she came. I want to give shout out to Anne. She was amazing. She was 1 hour she sat with me, and she taught me all the different techniques, all the different ways, do's and don'ts. And she was like, you do now, I will watch you. So whatever I did, then she shifted my hand and corrected me. And once I came home, I realized how important that experience was. And if you're giving birth in a hospital where they don't give you that experience, highly recommend you talk to a lactation consultant, because breastfeeding is so crucial for your baby, but it's something that is so difficult to get a hang of. And as a mother, you feel like a failure, like, why am I not able to feed my baby properly? And in my case, I was lucky that I was able to get started on it. But there are some mothers who are not able to, like, the milk doesn't flow in, and then you feel like such a failure, like, I'm not able to feed my own baby, and you have to give them formula. And before giving birth, I was also of the opinion that I will only breastfeed, no formula for my baby. But in that moment where you want your baby fed, you will honestly do anything to feed them. So I have also changed my mind on formula. If my baby cannot have breast milk, if I'm not able to breastfeed, I will give formula, because at the end of the day, I want my baby to be fed. She needs to grow, she needs to sleep. She cannot be crying and in pain just because you're stubborn and you're like, no formula. Okay, I'm gonna wrap up the story fast because she's starting to wake up a bit and I need to feed her. So yeah, my experience was really good. I did not have a C-section. I had a vaginal delivery. I know a lot of people ask me, did you do normal or C-section? First of all, I feel it's a bit weird when you call it normal delivery, because that makes C-section feel weird, like as if it's abnormal or it's strange. People have birth plans, right? I have water birth, hypnobirth, ye wo. My only birth plan was to give birth, and I had only two things that I wished for, which is, one, I wanted as much as I could to avoid C-section, simply because I know C-section takes a lot of time to recover from, and I did not want that. And second thing, as I wanted to breastfeed my baby, and I was just hoping that my body will be able to allow me to do that. So I recovered pretty fast also. Yes, you do get stitches, and yes, you have to put an ice pack, and you will be bleeding like as if you have your period for about 2 to 3 weeks after giving birth. But and it does hurt, not gonna lie, it does hurt. But now looking back at that period, it seems like a blip, like it seems like so small, but in that moment, yes, it will hurt. But it's only for a day or two. actually not a day or two. I would say about pain lasts for about 5 days, but they give you pain medication. They give you a lot of things to help manage the pain. So it's doable. It is completely doable, and I had a fantastic birth experience. I know not everyone has the same thing, but I think one thing that helped me bounce back or get back on my feet pretty fast is I was very active throughout my pregnancy. I would go on long 1 hour walks with my dog every morning and every evening. I also did a bit of prenatal yoga, but it was my fault. I was not very consistent with it because it was done with a very good yoga instructor, but she was in India, so the timings didn't match for me and I was not able to keep up. But whatever I did was great. I would say don't listen to all bakwas advice from random people. Of course, you know, when your parents are giving you advice or people you trust, you can listen to it, but it can feel very, very overwhelming. I went down the path of just listening to my gynecologist. I did not go to read extra. I did not go to watch extra videos because I know me. I would get anxious and freak out, and I wanted to be as calm as possible. And I gotta go. Okay, bye. Okay, baby's asleep, so continuing the story. So we were in the hospital for a total of 2 days. After the first day itself, we were cleared to leave. They have a couple of tests, like they especially check the child if the child has jaundice, a couple of blood tests, they give vaccinations, etc. And so her jaundice levels were very, very low, and apparently it's lower among Indians and lower among people who have darker skin than those who have lighter skin. So we were like, great. So they were like, baby looks good, you look good, you're recovering well. I think I was able to walk around also by the first day itself, and they were like, you can go home if you want. And we felt so afraid of going within just the first day because we still felt like we had so much more to learn, like how to hold the baby, how to change diaper, how to feed the baby. That Akash and I discussed it because obviously it was going to be a lot cheaper if you went out after just one day opposed to staying for 2 days. But you know, we just did not feel ready enough to go home with the baby by ourselves and had to handle all of it. So we thought, okay, fine, you know, let's just take on one more day. We will learn everything, and we just want to make sure that the baby's completely okay, and you know, we don't want to leave anything to chance. So we stayed for another day, and that staying the extra day was really, really good because it also gave me a little more time to recover in a setting where, like, the nurses were doing everything for me, food was being given to me, I could just rest and take care of the baby completely. So that was really helpful. And more than anything, I got a complete, like I mentioned, I got a complete crash course on breastfeeding and taking care of the child. And Akash was also taught how to change diaper. Like, they're very specific that, okay, dads must learn to change diaper. Daddy, you come here, you change diaper. Like, you know, they made sure that he learned how to do it. And he was also like, from the beginning itself, you know, I'm going to learn how to do this, do that, so I can do all of this. So yeah, it was really helpful. And now coming to the costs of everything. There are a lot of costs leading up to the delivery itself because every time you have to go and visit your gynecologist. I had a senior gynecologist, so it was about $160 for every visit. And at the beginning, it's like you have one visit every 3 months ish. But as you get closer and closer to your delivery date, you have a visit every 2 weeks. And they do tests, like they test you for infections or many other blood tests that they do. Even that is out of pocket. Total in checkups, I spent about $4,000. Delivery itself can range from $8,000 to $12,000. This price is if you are not a PR and if you're not a citizen. We are not PRs or citizens, so this we are considered foreigners, and so this was the price for us, and this is the most expensive. If you are a PR, it's significantly cheaper, and if you are a citizen, it's much, much, much cheaper because the government subsidizes healthcare a lot for its citizens here. If it's a vaginal delivery, it's about $8,000. If it's a cesarean, it can be up to $10,000 to $12,000. In total, I think it came up to like about $10,000. And I have to add that this 8,000 to 12,000 quotation that they gave us is just cost for me and my, you know, care. If there was any other extra costs for the baby, for example, if the baby was premature or if there was any complication with the baby, those are extra costs. So on top of 8,000 to 12,000, any other cost related to the baby is extra. One very good thing is that Akash's company has maternity insurance, so a large part of that was covered by insurance, and so we did still have to pay out of pocket, but the proportion that we had to pay compared to the original price was a lot lesser. So again, we knew that this was coming, so we had over the past few months been saving up for that as well, and setting aside that money because we knew that, you know, there's going to be like a lump sum expense coming up. Yeah, so that is the complete birth story update. I have to say I had a very smooth birth. I and a recovery also. Like, I was up and about and walking just after the first day. Second day, I went out on a walk with my dog within like a few days as well of coming home. And I know that a lot of people say, you know, you have to do 40 days confinement, mother should not go out at all. And I know that there are probably like good reasons for it, but personally I felt for me to feel a little more active, for me to feel like myself, I really needed to step outside and see what the outside world looked like, because I was just at home, you know, within these four walls. I needed to feel like, the only way I can describe it is when I went on that walk, I felt alive, I felt refreshed, I felt like myself again, and I felt a lot better, like mentally and physically as well. As always, consult with your gynecologist before you do anything. I checked with my gynecologist, she said you are clear to do whatever you want. So all was well. And yeah, that was my birth story. And if you have any other questions, and I usually say if you have any other questions, let me know. But I've seen on my Instagram, like, people ask very, very personal questions which I'm not comfortable with answering. So yeah, you can ask your questions, but if I feel like it's too personal or I'm not comfortable sharing it, then I will not answer it. So yeah, you can ask, but let's see. Anyway, I hope you have a good week ahead, and I hope this was helpful. Yeah, I will see you in the next video. Bye.